What's up, everyone? Welcome back to the Liquid FX YouTube channel. So here we're going to be going over a key essential topic when it comes to any ICT mentorship, whether it's the 22 mentorship or the 2016 or 17 mentorship or whatever ICT model, technique, strategy system, whatever you're using in ICT and probably in SMC as well. One of the most important things is the idea of sessions and using sessions because we all hear the thing of time and then price, but how can we integrate that with our understanding of sessions? Now, there's four sessions that we are going to look at, right? There's four sessions, right? Four sessions, four main sessions, right? The first one being the Asian session. Oh, the second one being the Frankfurt session. The third session being the London session. And the fourth and final session being the New York session. Now, each of these have a role to play each and every day in the market, right? Now, just to clarify, we're going to be focusing on number 1, 3, and 4. So we're less concerned about the Frankfurt session, but I've included that because it is still a session and it does have somewhat of a role to play on certain days, depending on which market you're looking at. Specifically, the euro dollar and the pound dollar, right? Which is what we specialize here at Liquid FX. So with that in mind, let's start with number 1. So we're going to start with the Asian session. So session number 1, the Asian session, right? Now, first of all, let's start with the timings, right? So the Asian session typically is a low volume time of day. So if you're looking at USD denominated pairs, EU, GU, if you're looking at the US stock market, so we've got S&P 500 and Nasdaq, US 30, US 100, indices. The Asian session will typically be a low volume time of day. So it's going to be a low volume time of day, right? So not very volatile, not very volatile, right? And so because of that, what we're going to see, right? So our Asian session is typically what we call the accumulation phase, right? So we're going to see somewhat of a range. This is going to be our Asian session over here, right? And we're going to, for the purpose of this video, we're going to be talking about the Asian session in orange. So our Asian session is going to be pretty much orange, right? We're not going to have too much volatility and activity in this particular session, right? This is the Asian session. Okay, this is the Asian session. Now, when it comes to timings, the Asian session, so I'm going to give two timings over here. So the Asian session is from 8 p.m. or 20 o'clock to midnight Eastern Standard Time or New York time. Okay, now if you're in the UK, if you're in the United Kingdom, this translates to being 5 hours ahead, right? So Kingdom, this will be from 1 a.m. to 5 a.m. in the morning, right? And this is London time or UK time where Liquid FX is based, right? So this is your Asian session timing. So what I'd recommend at this time is for you to write this down in your notepad, your journal, highlight this and underline this. So wherever you are around the world, please calibrate this to your time zone. It's very important to understand. So the Asian session in New York time or Eastern Standard Time is from 20 o'clock to midnight or from 8 p.m. to 12 a.m., right? So IPTA, the Enterprise Bank Delivery Algorithm, resets at midnight New York time. I'll repeat that. It resets at midnight New York time. So it's important to calibrate that to wherever you are around the world. So that's the first session we're going to be looking at, okay? Now, the second session we're going to be looking at is, like I mentioned, the Frankfurt session, okay? The Frankfurt session. Now, the Frankfurt session typically is where volatility picks up, but it's not a session that you want to be trading or looking to trade, right? So volatility increases. Volatility or activity generally increases, but still there's not a huge amount of volume. Not a huge amount of volume. And what I mean by this is that the Frankfurt session typically kicks off the day as it may initiate out of the Asian range, So far we've discussed the Asian range, right? We're going to have the Asian range that accumulates orders just like this. So the Asian range, as we've previously identified, will be in orange. Now, the Frankfurt session will initiate out of the Asian range and will give us a move either higher or lower, right? We could either initiate out of the range or below the range, the Asian range. This is typically the Frankfurt session here in red. This is the Frankfurt session. Now, what is the purpose of the Frankfurt session? Now, we don't really use the Frankfurt session too much, and it's not a session which you actively want to be trading in, right? The Frankfurt session is typically when the market initiates out of the Asian range, but it's important to understand this is also a relatively low volume time of day, and it just kicks off the day's activities. Now, with that being said, we're now going to go on to the London session over here. Now, the London session is two of the sessions where the volatility is the highest, right? So if we go on to the London session from here. Now, the London session is, let's go over the timings first. Now, if you're in New York, Eastern Standard Time, it's going to be from 2 a.m. up to 5 a.m. Now, these are the kill zones, right? These are the kill zones. These are the kill zones. So it's important to understand your highest probability setups, your A+ setups will occur during these times, right? Eastern Standard Time, 2 a.m. to 5 a.m. Or if you're in the UK, your timings will be from 7 up to 10 a.m. Okay, so typically, me personally, I trade from 8 to 10. Some people trade from half 7 to 10, but your official timings of the kill zone are from 7 to 10 a.m. Now, the London session typically picks up a lot of volume in the market, and we're going to see typically the high or the low established in that London session. And here's how we do it. You're either going to see price come up, initiating after the Frankfurt session, giving us an aggressive sweep down for us to then catch an entry of, or the exact opposite can happen. We can see price head down low and give us an aggressive push up before an entry happens, right? Now, this is the London session here, and we're going to mark that in blue. This is the London session. Now, the London session typically kicks off most of the volume of the day and is the main financial driver of the markets, right? So especially if you're looking at EU, GU, especially EU, London typically moves the market and is one of the most volatile times of the day. This is the London session. One thing to note with the London session is that typically you will get the ICT Judah swing in this range. So the ICT Judah swing in this range will occur. I'll mark that out in yellow. You're going to get the high of the day or the low of the day, typically in the London session. Not always, it can happen in the next session, which is what we're going to go over now. But the yellow boxes represent a Judah swing or a turtle soup, if I can spell that, turtle soup, or simply a manipulation. Manipulation within that whole power of 3 scenario, which we'll go through in another video. So this is now the London session. So we've had the Asian session, the low volume time of day. We've had Frankfurt initiate out of the Asian range, which gives us increased volatility. Then we have the London market kick in at 2 to 5 a.m., which is a kill zone, and that gives you your manipulation. Now the final session, last but not least, we have the New York session, which is the second session, which has the most amount of volatility, right? London and New York both have the most amount of volatility. Now, Eastern Standard Time, what are your trading hours? The New York kill zone will be from 7 in the morning to 10 in the morning, right? Eastern Standard Time, or if you're in the UK, that will be from 12 up till 3 p.m., right? So, let me write that properly. So from 12 up to 15 o'clock or 3 p.m. in the afternoon, right? Now, in the New York session, typically you're going to get a continuation from London. So either you could head down lower after an order block has been mitigated. So this is our OB, right? This is our OB. So this will be a bearish OB or bearish order block. The New York session will simply look to continue the move and distribute lower, right? So the New York session could either give us a continuation lower, right, mitigating an order block over here, or we could see the exact opposite, where we could see price come down lower, and just continue higher. So typically the New York session continues on what London has done. And that's the secret when it comes to sessions, right? The secret is to understand what London has done. And more often than not, the New York session will often just be a continuation of that, right? So the New York session over here, the New York session is the final session before we loop back round to the Asian session. And the New York session can either continue London's move, or we can get a reversal depending on where we are in price. But these are the four sessions that Price is definitely going to go through every day. We go from Asian session to Frankfurt session to London session to New York session, all the way back to Asian session, Frankfurt session, London session, and New York session. And this cycle repeats regardless, because you cannot change time wherever you are around the world. So it's very important, like I've said before, to calibrate these timings I've given you in this video to wherever you are around the world. Calibrate them to your time so you don't get tricked out. So my recommendation would be to learn the times from the Eastern Standard and then convert them to, if you're in the UK, use UK times, such as where our community Liquid FX is based. If you're in Dubai, India, Pakistan, Australia, wherever you are around the world, you want to make sure that you calibrate them to your specific times. That's very important. So if you like this video, give it a like, give it a thumbs up, and I look forward to seeing you all in the next one.